Attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending today's webcast, Multi-CAD Data Management with Synergis Adept. Our presenter today is Matt Lane. He's a Director of Consulting Services with Hagerman & Company. Before we get started, I want to let you know that you're in listening-only mode. If you have questions during the presentation, just type them in the question panel on the right-hand side of the screen, and they will be addressed at the end of the webcast. As you exit the webcast today, you'll be prompted to fill out a survey, and we ask that you take a few moments to fill that out. All attendees will receive a certificate for attending today's presentation. And with that, I'll hand things over to Matt.
All right. Thank you very much, Ashley, and appreciate everyone joining us here this morning or this afternoon, depending upon your time zone. Probably have about a 45-minute or so presentation here to go over multi-CAD data management with Adept. So we'll be taking a look at Adept itself, an overview presentation on it as well. Also, I want to talk a little bit about just the concept and challenges of multi-CAD data management to hopefully make this as much educational and informative as I can as well, and not just a sales presentation. While we're moving along through the broadcast, you'll be able to type questions into the question panel in GoToWebinar, and we'll answer those questions at the end. Also, we'll open it up if you want to hold off typing anything in until the end. We'll be holding it open as well at that point. Just a little bit of background on Hagerman & Company. I don't know if there's anyone on here who hasn't joined us before, not familiar with us. We've been around since 1984, and we've got offices. Actually, I grabbed an older slide to build this off of, actually a bit of an outdated slide. I'm missing a couple of states I know, missing Alabama and Georgia as well. We've got about 22 offices all over the country. I updated this from an older slide. And we've been doing engineering or CAD systems for about 30 years now. And we've been doing document control, workflow, data management solutions like we're talking about here today with Adept for about 20 years. And we've done hundreds of customer implementations. So we feel like we've got a wealth of experience that we can pass on to our customers to really help them do things well and do things correctly. Now, we offer multiple different solutions for land-based data and document management. We handle the Autodesk data management line with the Vault products, also Bluecello Meridian, and Synergis Adept. We try to work with each particular customer to help each one determine what product is going to be the best fit for them, rather than just having one product that we sell to everyone. From the standpoint today, though, we'll be focusing on the Adept product. One thing to note as we get into the presentation, I don't know all the company backgrounds of everyone who's on, but we work in a number of different CAD data management markets, and each one is a little bit different. So I'll try to be as generic as possible, but as we see the market's broken down, discrete manufacturing is a major market that we deal with. A lot of people doing product design, generally for the most part using 3D CAD now, although some people still use 2D. We also do a lot of work in process manufacturing and utilities, where the needs and the hot buttons are quite a bit different. Where process manufacturing could be steel, chemicals, food processing, all those kinds of things. Infrastructure could be things like airports, pipelines, those types of organizations, AEC firms, general facilities management, which could be universities, hospitals, large financial institutions, and so on. And then, just another category that falls into others, or just more of a general document management. So it's, as we move further in, depending upon the type of organization you have, your needs and your sources for benefit or ROI are going to be quite a bit different, which can really lead into what data management system might be the best fit for you and how much a part of the CAD integration is an important part. In the discrete manufacturing, work in process engineering, CAD data management is typically a huge hot button there. And while the reason we're talking to people in the first place or doing implementation, as we move into some of the other markets, you move into the process and infrastructure, a lot of times managing projects and working with outside vendors is a major need. Typically what we run into, a lot of utilities, steel, chemical, a lot of their engineering work is done by outside engineering firms, and then it's coordinated by project managers and document controllers within the organization. So working and collaborating with those outside vendors, sending files back and forth, keeping everything in sync is a huge need. In those organizations as well, making drawings and documents available to consumers, such as maintenance people. Those plants typically run 24/7, so 2 o'clock Sunday morning, a piece of equipment goes down, a maintenance person's got to find the drawing or documents to get it repaired and to keep that plant running. So a system that's very efficient at that, as opposed to maybe in managing the engineering work in process, is important. And then in discrete manufacturing, that can be important as well if people need to pull up part drawings on the shop floor. Collaborating with project partners, that's what we see a lot with AEC firms, where typically an AEC firm is working with other architectural or engineering firms or construction companies, property owners, collaborating with them. In all types of organizations, a huge need and ROI source is working with other company sites. Adept and the other systems we handle do support multi-site replication. And then a couple of other areas, streamlining workflows and processes. So a system with very good workflow capabilities for things like ECOs and other business processes is critical. System integration, tying into other enterprise systems, or expanding into a full enterprise document management solution. So we're talking today, the topic is multi-CAD data management, but it's also important, I think, not to just think about the CAD side of things alone, but to look at the big picture for your organization to see what of these or possibly other major needs, major payback sources should really be driving your decision for a system. Now, talking about multi-CAD, the CAD software we run into out there, of course, Autodesk CAD software. I don't know the CAD software that everyone is using. Back in the old days, and I've been around a long time here for 30 years, it was just plain old vanilla AutoCAD. But the CAD world and even the AutoCAD world has gotten more complex. And I think I've kind of got these listed in terms of increasing complexity, at least to some degree, where AutoCAD, AutoCAD Raster, AutoCAD LT, from a CAD data management standpoint, those are probably the simplest. You've got issues like viewing, title block linking, managing XREFs. Mechanical and electrical are probably the next step up. And as you move into more complexity, the CAD data management becomes more critical and really also more difficult to handle. Then moving into P&ID and Plant 3D, which we see a lot in the process industries now. Those are more complex with their own databases that drawings are linked to. Similar as well to Civil 3D and Map 3D. And then AutoCAD Architectural, MEP, and Structural on the BIM side of things. I guess the moral of the story is CAD is getting more complicated, so the bar is getting raised higher and higher in terms of multi-CAD data management and what tools need to be able to do in order to work properly with the software. And then also, we're seeing more and more Autodesk Inventor out there, Autodesk Revit, and some other Autodesk tools as well. Then other software we run into a lot, SolidWorks and Microstation. Now the Adept that we're talking about here today, it works with the AutoCAD-based products and Inventor, also SolidWorks and Microstation. Has full CAD integration with those products, Pro Engineer, Unigraphics, CATIA, Solid Edge. Adept is not really designed to fully integrate with those tools, although if you have 3D models from any of those solutions, they could be stored in the Adept Vault, and then Adept includes AutoView, which is a generic 2D and 3D viewing tool. So some people might want to store these other files in Adept, but it's not really designed for work-in-process CAD data management for anything other than the Autodesk, SolidWorks, and Microstation products. So the challenges of multi-CAD data management, and it's a matter of really understanding what your current CAD situation is and your future CAD needs as far as making a decision. As we talked about, the growing complexity of CAD software, and just like everything else in life, there's trade-offs involved in that. We represent Autodesk Vault, and it's definitely the most tightly integrated data management tool for the Autodesk CAD products. Adept is good, but it's not as good as the Autodesk product. So it's a matter of looking at trade-offs, what presents the best overall capability, and then if you're in an environment where maybe you're using Autodesk and SolidWorks together, Adept is a very, very good tool in that it may not be the best at Autodesk, it may not be the best at SolidWorks, but it's probably the best for companies who have a combination of both. Another thing to understand is that typically with Adept or other third-party data management tools, as opposed to something like Vault from Autodesk, there is typically some delay in the new version of Adept being available, for instance, to work with a new version of SolidWorks or Autodesk Inventor, for example. Whereas Autodesk Vault, when the new version of Inventor or AutoCAD comes out, the new version of Vault is right there with it. With a tool like Adept, typically there's a 3-month or so window for Adept to have support. Now for some organizations, maybe most of them, that doesn't matter a whole lot because most companies don't like to be the first on their block to install the new version of a piece of CAD software. Other organizations, it can be important. We were working with a company that was a contract manufacturer for OEMs. Some of their customers had SolidWorks. Some of those customers would install the new version of SolidWorks right away, which then forced that company to install the new version of SolidWorks right away so they could open the part files they were getting from their customers. So you really need to look at the situation you're in, to see if that type of delay is going to be any issue. So just looking at key questions and directions, understanding what are your key data management needs and sources of ROI for the company, where are our CAD needs going in the future, what is our CAD upgrade cycle. So another option that is out there, say if you have multiple CAD platforms within your organization, instead of putting in a data management tool that works with all of them, another option is to try to standardize on a CAD platform. So I think that's something else that needs to be part of a company's decision as well. So that's probably enough overview. Now a little bit more depth on Synergis. They've been around, again, it's actually over 20 years now. I apologize for not getting that slide updated, but they've been around a long time. They're headquartered in Pennsylvania. They're a U.S. company. All their software development is done in the United States. We partner together with them, and they also work with some clients directly. We've had a very good working relationship with them. A couple things I'm going to maybe buzz through a little bit quicker, just to get to more of the actual demonstration. Like I said before, the last bullet, we feel that in a multi-CAD environment, if you have the Autodesk, Microstation, and SolidWorks, some combination of those, Adept is the best multi-CAD data management tool on the market. Also, we've had a lot of success in SolidWorks only environments. The Adept product is very competitive and very good as a solution just in a SolidWorks only environment. Now, we've gone head-to-head there and typically won a lot of business, and then been able to deliver for those SolidWorks customers as well. The basic features of Adept are very similar to any other CAD data management, and in some cases just any general document management tool. Gives you a secure document vault, check-in, check-out capability. So if I check out a file, it's flagged as checked out to me. Other people can see it, but they can't make conflicting changes. When I release a new version, it updates, automatically increments the revision letter or number, adds to the revision history. We talked about the CAD integration already. Adept also integrates with other applications like Microsoft Office and Outlook, and will actually manage and store any type of file that you can store on your computer. Searching and retrieving, Adept will index in Inventor and SolidWorks iProperties or file properties, Microsoft Office file properties, AutoCAD title block attributes. You can add and edit other properties just in the library cards in Adept. Adept will do content indexing and searching, so you can search and retrieve documents by content. We've talked a little bit about viewing and redlining with AutoView, which is probably the most powerful 2D and 3D CAD viewing tool on the market. Each license of Adept comes with a license of AutoView for both CAD and non-CAD users. Workflow, so not just the data and document management, but Adept can automate your business processes, review processes, engineering change order processes, and then send email notifications to people as it's time for them to do some work. Search, view, print. Adept also has a couple of web clients for people who just need search, view, print capabilities, or possibly search, view, print workflow capabilities. Adept is all Windows environment, floating licenses, which helps keep the cost down. And then probably Microsoft SQL Server is the most popular database platform for Adept, and it does work well with Microsoft SQL Server Express, which is the free version of SQL. So that's always very nice. Some of Adept's unique capabilities, not all of these are 100% unique as compared to other systems, but some of its strengths and unique capabilities, like I mentioned, fully customizable workflow. And with that workflow, you can set up time limits on a task, and if people don't get something done in that time limit, it'll send out reminders and warnings. You can also put in a more secure system where workflow sign-offs require a login, which is something that's required for FDA and Department of Defense and that kind of thing. I'll show you the bill of materials with 3D CAD, which is a nice tool. One thing that a lot of people have liked about Adept are the audit trails. All systems have an audit trail on a document for when it was checked in, checked out, reviewed, approved, rejected, that kind of thing. Adept can actually capture everything in the audit trail. Who was it viewed by and when did they view it? Printing, copying, sending out in a transmittal. every touch of the file can be captured in an audit trail in Adept. Also, for those of you who work with outside parties and need to send transmittals out, for instance, you're sending a package of documents out to a supplier for them to work on or review, Adept makes it super easy to package up documents into a transmittal package. So, for instance, if you pick a parent CAD file, it'll automatically grab all the children. You can grab other files as well. When you send out the transmittal, you can automatically zip up the files. It can automatically convert the files to PDF if you're just wanting to send out viewables. It'll generate a transmittal form or record with basic information about the transmittal, then info about every document in it. Send that out. Microsoft Outlook integration, we talked about that. The searching, we'll see that in Adept here in a bit, so I won't talk about it. One thing with Adept, and this has been a big reason why a lot of people have selected Adept, is that other systems on the market, when you bring documents into those systems, it brings those documents into a proprietary vault structure in which behind the scenes in the vault on the server, the files are renamed, the folder structure is redone, and the folders are renamed. From a UI standpoint, everything looks the same to the end user, but internally, that restructuring and scrambling has been done, where Adept actually just kind of acts as a wrapper over your current Windows structure, in that your folder structure, folder names, file names all stay intact. And a lot of people have a comfort level from that. Also, it makes it so that other applications can still link to those files. Adept also has a publish wave solution for batch printing, plotting, and publishing, and also supports distributed vaults and multi-site replication, like we mentioned. And some of these, again, some of these things I'm going to skip through more quickly just to get deeper into the presentation. Some of the, since this is about multi-CAD and CAD integration, some of the key features, some of them we've hit already. One thing with Adept that it has, especially, which is nice, especially if you're working with SolidWorks and Inventor, is that it supports both fixed and floating, and these are user selectable fixed or floating assembly relationships. For instance, you've completed a machine for a customer, and you want to make sure you've got an exact record of what that customer has. So in that case, you'd want to make your assembly relationships fixed. So all the children of that assembly is going to stay linked to the revisions that were current when the machine was designed and shipped. So if one of the parts revs, the assembly keeps pointing to the old rev. Or you can have relationships floating so that, if a part changes, then the assembly automatically updates. And that's user controllable on a child by child and assembly by assembly basis. So it really gives you a lot of control there. Adept does support SolidWorks assembly configurations. Those are probably the main things I want to hit on here. And then just some Adept customers out there. You see large companies, small companies, a lot of different industries represented. So Adept's customer base is it's very broad in terms of customer size, industry that they're in, and so on. Now, if we jump over to Adept, just to take a look at it here, this is the Adept user interface for the desktop client, and it's not a lot different than any of the other systems we represent. Not a lot different than Windows Explorer in that, here on the left, we've got our folder structure, and the folder structure is however you want to have it. Then here are our files. Now, one thing we talked about is that Adept is really just acting as a wrapper over our current server's contents. So you've got all the control features, but if I go out here on my C drive, I'm just running off of one self-contained laptop here, but this would, in a real-world install, you'd be looking at your server in this case. But I've got a folder here called Adept Vault, and here you can see it's just exactly the same folder structure here. So if I go into Cox Engine, there's those particular files. Now, you would never want to set it up so that somebody could go here in Windows Explorer and edit one of these files and get things out of sync. So you could just leave this as read-only access, possibly for some free viewing. But it is nice and does stay intact like that. And then old revisions will automatically be stored in subfolders here. And then, here I can see information on my files. All these glyphs indicate the status of the file. Also here you can see the status. These are all checked in. Job number, part number. So any of your title block attributes, Inventor or SolidWorks properties, custom Adept properties, they can all be displayed as columns here. And those columns are totally configurable. And right now I'm looking at what's called the file guide view. So I'm looking at my vault. And most of the commands you do in Adept is very simple. It's either going to be, typically it's clicking one of these icons, or you can right click. Right now I'm looking at the vault. If I go to click on work area, I can now see these are the files that I have signed out to work on. And then back to my vault, work area, or I can display these side by side if I wish. So when you right-click on a file and sign it out, it marked as signed out in the database, and then it's brought to your work area folder. And my computer is acting very pokey today for some reason. And then your work area folder, is it here? It may be on my D drive. Yeah, Adept work areas, I'm logged in as Adam. So here's the files that I have signed out. So you can actually sign out or copy out like to your laptop drive, and if you need to go mobile to work, you can do that as well, and then sign back in when you get back into the office. Then down here at the bottom, we have what's called the relationship browser. And it's probably the most interesting to look at an assembly file. So I can see this assembly model is used in this drawing. If I go to children, here's all of the children of this assembly. That's shown the status of all the children, where they're located. Of course, I can configure these columns how I want. And then I can right-click on any of the children to sign them out directly from here. Also, you can see here all of my assembly relationships are floating, so that if any of these parts change, then the assembly is going to be updated. But I could say fixed for any of these. So now if this 102 part gets modified, this version 0 is still going to be linked to this assembly. Also here I can see a workflow history of the document, version history of the document, audit trail. So you can see here's, actually just captured the things I just did. So there's no hiding anything here. So you can see everything that's been done with that file. Configurations. So information on your SolidWorks assembly configurations available here, drawing info, and then thumbnail. This gives you a little thumbnail preview of the document. Also then, library card. This is a detailed, customizable view of the properties of this particular document. And different documents can have different library cards associated with them. Different users can have access to different library cards. So this makes it very easy to lay out, to view, or edit information on the files. So I can edit anything here, or I can switch to, probably want to go to a mechanical view since this is a 3D model. So all that is just laid out exactly like you want it. And I can edit anything, edit the property, and if I say update document, it'll write the property changes back into my CAD title block or my CAD file properties. Now for searching, the nice thing is when you search, it just brings up a blank card. And you can just fill in fields or values or wildcards in one or more fields and hit search, and it retrieves the match. You can fill information in one field, hit search, might give you 200 files. Like, okay, I got to refine it. So then I type a value into another field, hit search, maybe it knocks it down to 100. Still need to redefine it. Comes back up, remembers your last parameters, type in the third parameter and get it nailed down to the one or the few documents that you need. And then again, we talked about right-clicking, so I can right-click on a file, get access to all my most common commands. The other thing we talked about was the viewing. So select the file and hit View, and this would be the most advanced viewing. This does all, so if you're thinking about AutoCAD, would do everything similar with AutoCAD in terms of, in a 2D world, measuring, turning layers on and off, switching between layout views, and so on. But we'll take a look at a solid model. You can see it understands the structure of the solid model, so I can turn any parts on and off that I wish, which is really nice. I can rotate around, so I've got full three-dimensional viewing. If I say zoom fit, let's go view, zoom in. Yeah, there we go, a little bit bigger. I can rotate around. I can go into analysis, and I can measure 2D or 3D distances. I can measure the minimum distance between a point and a surface. I can get the coordinates of a particular point with snapping, get the length of an edge, measure surface areas, arc lengths, any mass properties, mass property measurements are all done. I can do a compare, so you can bring two versions of the same solid model up side by side and do a compare, and it'll show you what's changed. I can generate a bill of materials from here, which I'm going to show you another way to do that here later on. Markups. I can go in and I'll add all these markup entities, so somebody out on the shop floor finds a problem. They can attach markup entities as needed. I can go to manipulate. I could say, I could go to explode and generate exploded views. I can go in and section. And section through the model. The thing to remember is anybody who has a license of Adept can do this. You don't have to have any seat of CAD. Also, people can do this through the web client. So that viewing is a very strong feature of the software. We also mentioned about the workflow. So if I pick a particular drawing and say sign it out, that will sign it out to my work area. I'll say override it. So now if I go to my work area, there it sits and it's marked as signed out. So here's, I could double click on the file, it'll open up into AutoCAD or whatever application, make my changes, save it, and then I would say sign in. And it gives me email. So now it's going to send out email notification to a reviewer. So it just didn't directly release the file. It starts routing it through an approval workflow. And that approver gets an email notification with a link to the file for review. And notice it doesn't attach the file to the email. It attaches a link to the file in the email. So you're not getting these copies running around all over the place. And then each user has an inbox with all their workflow items. And then under admin, all these workflows are fully configurable. So that's just a very quick overview of Adept. Now what I want to do is, don't have time to go into all the CAD integrations, and I've got, what I'm going to do is switch to a short movie here showing the integration within SolidWorks. And one thing, and you're going to see a task pane panel that allows users inside of SolidWorks to do their Adept functions from right inside of SolidWorks. I'm not going to show it for AutoCAD or Inventor, but a key thing to remember is it's the same task pane inside AutoCAD, inside SolidWorks, inside Inventor, so that no matter what CAD platform you're on, your user interface is the same. So I'll go ahead and cue that up here. And this is, I think, about a little 4-minute movie. And that's not the one I wanted. There we go.
Hello and welcome to this presentation of Adept's new integration with SolidWorks. This new Adept integration for SolidWorks was designed from surveys of our existing customers as well as key prospects. We identified that changes were needed in the way SolidWorks users interact with a document management solution. The focus of this change was keeping the user in the CAD application where they live, resulting in speed. Enabling you to interact with Adept without leaving the CAD application was the major tenet for this change. The CAD user can now perform from 80 to 100% of their daily CAD design tasks without leaving the CAD application and can still use the Adept desktop client when needed for workflow review, approval, or viewing requirements. We integrated into a standard SolidWorks construct, the task pane, which itself provides efficiencies in display and access. Its hide feature maximizes graphics areas in SolidWorks, but still allows immediate access to Adept features for searching, finding, inserting, replacing, or opening files from Adept. Let's take a look at some of this in action. The Adept task pane will behave and move along with your other task pane items. You can have it free-floating, docked, pinned down, auto-hiding right along with your other task panes. There are 3 tabs to find files with: Search, File Guide View, and Work Area. The Search tab enables you to find files based on data you know. For example, I can ask for all the assembly files that have a job number that begins with CM. Right below, we see a list of results. You can display any data columns you would like to see. I like to see the file name, the status of the file, who owns it, and the part number and or the job number. You can also right-click on any file to copy out, delete, sign in, sign out, sign in and out, display or edit the library card data. The library card data is in a full edit mode. If you have the rights to do so, you can update information right from this library card. You can see all the tabs that have been created for your library cards, including a thumbnail. And if you have the rights, you can also change which library card view you want to use. The second tab for finding files is the File Guide view. Very simply, this will sort your files based on the data you're tracking. You may have several different file guides you'd like users to be able to sort their files on. I've got one that organizes first by job number, then by product type. Now I can stop right there to see all the files for that product type, or I can select a specific file extension to narrow down my search. Another one here is your inbox. You can see all the files that are currently assigned to you, regardless of what type of a file they are. Here is my inbox, and down below you can see I've got a part, a JPEG image, as well as a PDF file that are all currently assigned to me or need my attention. The third tab is your work area. Any files that you have signed out will be listed here. This may be a folder on your local hard drive or a personal folder on the network. Now I'm going to go back to the File Guide view. This is an arrangement that I find useful. And I want to point out when I've selected the assemblies here, down below we can see some additional information. First off, we've got a thumbnail view. And this is an option if you want to turn it on. So as you select different files, you get to see a different thumbnail. You can also choose to display the relationships of this file. This will include relationships you make between other files in Adept, as in this example where a change notice is related to this assembly. On the right, we have action options for you to select. This is where you determine what you want to do with the file that you've selected above. Now, I'm going to sign out and open this file with a real simple drag and drop. So here I'll select the sign out option. I can even choose which configuration I want to open up, or sign out I should say. Here I'll drag and drop it to the main interface. Now as the file opens, you'll notice that the status of that assembly has already changed to out. I now have it signed out. Other users can insert it into their design or be referencing it into their design, but they can't take editing rights or ownership of that file at this point. Now, I may want to insert some parts. I could search for purchase parts. I could search for a library of parts that we use, or in this case, parts that I've already used within this product type. Down below, I can decide how I want that to be inserted. In this case, I want to insert in a read-only mode. I don't want to edit it. I don't want to sign it out or copy it at this point. Just want to insert it as is. Here I can simply drag and drop the file right into the design. Set up my constraints.
Well, I think that probably gives everyone the idea. And again, it's going to work the same or similar in AutoCAD and Inventor, and then also work with some of the specifics of those packages, which might be a little bit different than SolidWorks. So you can do your data management work not just in the client like we're looking at now, but also inside the CAD application too. And one more feature I'm going to show before we wrap up here from a feature standpoint is going back to that assembly. And again, this same feature would work with SolidWorks and Inventor, is the bill of materials capabilities. And it will generate a bill of materials of any SolidWorks or Inventor assembly. Right now this is coming up blank. I'm going to do this manually. In the real world, you wouldn't have to do this. It would be pre-configured with your BOM columns. So I'm going to go ahead and add it manually. I'm going to say part number, quantity, description. So any of my SolidWorks or Adept properties are available here. Material. So now you can see that bomb starting to be constructed. And want my children indented, express file extensions. Yeah, I'll say yeah. So it just goes to part numbers. Do I want the bomb generated from my current work in progress file or from the last release? You know, what format do I want the bomb output in? I can show only top level children if I wish. I can say which assembly configuration I want the bomb generated from. Then I can go to my next screen. Again, my system's a little pokey today for some reason. Relationship, and this is neat. I can say it's going to output the bomb as an Excel file, and it's going to be treated as a child of the assembly. So there's going to be like a link between them. So when I go to that assembly, it's going to show that bomb file as a child of it. And I'm going to make it fixed so that this bomb is linked to this specific version of the assembly. If I update the assembly, change it, there's not going to be any bomb with the new version, so I'm not going to get a mismatch between versions of the bomb and versions of the assembly. Those files are going to be married together. And then I'll drop the bomb onto a worksheet named bomb into Adam's work area, since that's who I'm logged in as. It's going to create this file and finish. Already exists. Okay, so we shall say 200-X. There we go. That file is being generated. So now if I look at my work area, there's that bomb, and then you can see it's linked to the assembly. And then if I open this up, there's the bill of materials that was generated. So that's what we think is a nice feature of the software as well. And there's tons more, but we wanted to wrap up within an hour, and yeah, I could go on and on showing more stuff, but probably at this point we should turn it over to questions. So I'll go to my question panel, see if we got anything so far. No questions yet. So we'll hold it open here to give people time to ask any questions. And then as they come in, I'll answer them. So hopefully this was an informative session for everyone. All right, on the questions, going once. Going twice. All right, well, if no one has any questions, I will turn it back over to Ashley for any wrap-up information that she might have here today.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. This concludes our broadcast. If you have additional questions that you think of later, you can just reply with those questions to the email you received from GoToMeeting, and we will route those to Matt so he can answer those for you. And once again, if you could take a few moments to answer the survey, we would appreciate it. It'll automatically appear when you close down the session. Thank you for attending today's webcast, and have a great day.